Miraidon EX is the latest deck to get the League Battle Deck treatment, and today we are going to review the contents of this deck, and I'll share my thoughts on whether this deck is worth it and whether it is the right competitive deck for you. I'm Jet from inthirdperson.com. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let me share my thoughts on the Miraidon EX League Battle Deck. Before we get into this video, quickly wanted to let you know that I am fundraising for Extra Life. 100% of the proceeds go towards the Children's Miracle Network of Hospitals, a network of 170 hospitals taking care of thousands of kids every day. This is an absolutely wonderful cause. And if you donate towards my Extra Life campaign that you can see on the screen, link is in the description below, you can get yourself some sweet rewards, including a signed Pokemon card from me, as well as prints of my spray paint art, including this Pikachu print, this Mew print, this Mario Kart Rainbow Road print, and a original waterfall painting from me. So if you're interested in supporting a wonderful cause and getting some sweet rewards, there's a link to the Extra Life page below. Thank you so much for your consideration. Thank you so much for watching. Now let's go back to the video. In case you're unaware, League Battle decks are Pokemon's pre-made deck line that feature the most competitive decks. On the bottom left-hand corner of many of their products, there's a play level rating, and League Battle decks are level 3 decks, which is as high as the Pokemon company goes. These decks are meant to be played competitively and upgraded to be top-tier decks. Most of the time, League Battle decks are created based on competitive level decks, and then they pare them down just a little bit, and then you can go make some upgrades and make them top-tier decks. I think most famously, the Mew VMAX League Battle deck is 38 out of the 60 cards that recently won the World Championship. So you are getting, oftentimes in these League Battle decks, very strong decks, and potentially decks that could win the World Championships, which is absolutely amazing. The suggested retail price for these is $29.99 US, and these come with a 60 card deck, 6 damage counter dice, 1 coin flip die, 2 condition markers, a deck box, a accessory book, 1 strategy sheet, and a code to unlock this deck in Pokemon TCG Live. Now, I am somebody who loves League Battle decks. I just have the boxes here for like most of them, and full disclosure, I will not be buying this Miraidon League Battle deck, not because I don't like the deck or I think the deck is bad, but I love Miraidon so much that I couldn't wait. I built my own Miraidon deck here. I ended up playing this at Toronto Regionals a couple of weeks ago. So Miraidon is a deck that is near and dear to my heart. I absolutely love that it is getting the League Battle deck treatment here. I think there are some good things about the way that it was converted into a League Battle deck and some not so great things. So yeah, let's go into this in a little more detail. Here is a look at the full deck list for the Miraidon League Battle deck. It is a great foundation for a competitive level Miraidon deck, and there's a lot of parts here that can be reused in other competitive decks. I'm not going to go and highlight every single card here, but I will highlight a couple of cards as well as talk about the general strategy for how this deck works. Our general game plan is to set up quickly. We're going to be using Miraidon's Tandem unit to get all of our lightning basic Pokemon out on the board. We're going to be using electric generators to flood our side of the board with energy, and ideally we want to set up 2 Regieleki VMAX so we're doing the maximum amount of damage. With 2 Regieleki VMAX in play, Miraidon is swinging for 280 damage, and with a Vitality Band, Miraidon can do upwards of 290 damage. This is going to be amazing for one-shotting multi-prize Pokemon such as V-Stars and Stage 1 EXs. Other Pokemon besides Regieleki VMAX and Miraidon serve a purpose in this deck as well. Bibarel can help us draw cards. Zeraora can act as a pivot thanks to its 0 retreat cost. This allows us to keep our attackers on the bench while we use Electric Generator to power them up, and once they're ready, we can just pivot Zeraora out and move our attacker in. And then the Regieleki that isn't a V Pokemon can attack our opponents on the bench with its targeted bolt attack. That being said, it does get blocked if Manaphy is in play. The deck comes with 2 copies of Miraidon EX. I wish it had 3, but 2 is still good. It's going to be enough most of the time to get your bench fully set up thanks to the tandem unit ability, and it does a good amount of damage. 220 is enough to take out many basic Pokemon V as well as many basic EXs, taking multi-prize knockouts with only 1 hit, which is great. And Miraidon, because of its versatility as an attacker, as a setup Pokemon, this is likely going to be a foundational Pokemon for lightning type decks for years to come. So it makes me feel very good that they are putting this out in a league battle deck, because you're going to be using Miraidon probably for years to come in many different forms. Electric Generator will also be a staple of lightning decks for years to come, because you get to look at the top 5 cards of your deck and attach up to 2 lightning energy you find there to your benched lightning Pokemon. Absolutely amazing way of accelerating energy to your Pokemon, but it's not perfect. If you don't have any energy in the top 5 cards of your deck, then you're kind of screwed. And it's not going to work all of the time. And that's actually kind of a problem for the way this deck is built, because there isn't really any other ways of accelerating extra energy, because it doesn't have any flaffies or any other fallbacks for energy acceleration. So in this build, the way that it's built, you really need the electric generators to hit. For Sealstone is not only an amazing card in the Miraidon deck, it's just flat out one of the best cards in the game right now. Using your V-Star power, you can just grab 1 card from the deck of your choice and put it into your hand. For Sealstone is actually quite an expensive card, at least at the time of this recording, and it is a absolutely phenomenal card in competitive play. I'm so glad that the Miraidon deck comes with one of these, and I'm sure there are going to be people that will be buying the Miraidon deck just to get access to Forest Sealstone. Initially, I thought it was weird that this deck came with 4 copies of Arvin. Not to say that Arvin is a bad card, but Arvin lets you grab a item card and a tool card from this deck and put it into your hand. I don't think Miraidon needs 4 copies of Arvin. That being said, I would say 2 copies of Arvin is good, and there are actually other competitive decks that use 4 copies of Arvin, including Charizard EX. If you have any plans of building other decks that use Arvin, having 4 copies of Arvin in the Miraidon deck is not bad to have. The big sticking point to this deck and this build is the inclusion of the Regieleki V /VMAX line. Now, Regieleki V and VMAX in and of themselves aren't inherently bad. The transistor ability does boost damage by 30, and having both of those set up is going to make Miraidon capable of one-shotting Pokemon with 280 HP, so you're taking out pretty much any V-Star in 1 hit, which is amazing. However, there are some big downsides to Regieleki builds of the Miraidon deck, which we as a community discovered in the Scarlet and Violet era. And one of those is that energy acceleration takes a hit because we're solely relying on electric generators to hit, which are a gamble. And then on top of that, Regieleki VMAX is a 3 prize Pokemon. When you knock this out, your opponent gets 3 prizes, and this can put a lot of pressure on you to try and make a comeback, and it's not always going to work out for you. So Regieleki VMAX becomes a very big target, an easy target for your opponent to attack and take extra prizes with. Yes, the deck does come with 1 Leafy Camo Poncho. However, you're not going to be able to protect both of your Regielekis in that way. Within the context of this league battle deck and the way that it's built, Regieleki VMAX's inclusion isn't necessarily the worst. However, if you have ambitions of building a competitive deck with this Miraidon League Battle deck, you will probably put the Regielekis aside in exchange for Flaffies, at least in the immediate term. Post-rotation, we'll see if Regieleki makes a comeback, but for the time being, Regieleki is not necessarily the best inclusion in a competitive level Miraidon League Battle deck. Bibarel in and of itself isn't a bad card. In fact, it won the World Championships in 2022 as a draw supporter for Arceus, and Bibarel lets you draw up to 5 cards, and in the context of this particular build, having draw power is not a bad thing at all. However, if you have ambitions of building a competitive level Miraidon deck, pretty much don't run Bibarel at all. So it's a little bit of an odd inclusion here. At the very least, once you completely upgrade your Miraidon deck, you can take out the Bibarels and put them in something else. This Regieleki card is often known as the bad Regieleki, and not necessarily because it's a bad card in and of itself, but because there's another single prize Regieleki card that is more often used in competitive play. But its role in the League Battle deck makes sense. It does have a snipe attack that can finish off Pokemon that Miraidon or your other attackers couldn't finish, and then they've run away to the bench. Regieleki can track them down and hit them. And then in a pinch, Electromagnetic Sonar can grab you a trainer card from your discard pile and put it back into your hand. Its retreat cost is absolutely horrible, and competitive builds of Miraidon don't run this card right now, but within the context of the League Battle deck as it's built, its inclusion here is not necessarily the worst. With Miraidon being such a popular deck and one that is pretty established in competitive play, it makes it even more glaring the cards that were left out of the League Battle deck. There are good explanations for why these cards are not in the League Battle deck, but it is disappointing that they are not there right now. Most notably, Flaaffy. It is a phenomenal form of energy acceleration, more reliable than Electric Generator, but Flaaffy is rotating soon as part of the 2024 rotation. We haven't been given the exact date of rotation at the time of this recording. I would presume it's going to be in the spring of 2024, and the League Battle deck needs to be on store shelves beyond that time frame. So I understand why Flaaffy isn't in here. However, it is kind of disappointing that it's not here right now. Definitely add some Flaaffys to this deck if you are going to buy this right away. Because Flaaffy's not here, we're also missing out on some of the deck's best attackers, including Raikou V, which is an incredibly efficient attacker, and Raichu, which is the heavy hitter of the deck, can potentially one-shot everything in the game. We're missing out on Miraidon's best stadium in Path to the Peak. We're missing out on Bravery Charm, which boosts the HP of basic Pokemon by 50. We are missing Squawkabilly EX, which lets you discard your hand and draw up to 6 cards on the first turn. And the latest hotness, Iron Hands EX, is not here either. I'm not necessarily going to fault the Pokemon Company for having the latest new tech in the Miraidon deck, but it is worth noting that you're not going to get an Iron Hands in here. And last but not least, hand disruption of any sort, whether that is Iono or Judge. This deck doesn't have it at all. I kind of wish they took out 2 Arvins and put in an Iono and Judge, but that's neither here nor there. If you do plan on buying the League Battle deck, I'm going to share a couple of upgraded lists on the screen right here. This one is from JW Kriwal, who won the Toronto Regionals with this exact list. The Pokemon lineup is actually quite different from the one that you get in the League Battle deck. It's pretty much just Miraidon that sticks around. However, there are a number of cards in the League Battle deck, trainers and energy, that carry over, such as the Professor's Research, Boss's Orders, Arvin, Electric Generator, Ultra Balls, Nest Ball, and the 4 Sealstone in there as well. So there's a lot of good foundational pieces in the League Battle deck, but it's going to take some extra legwork to get the other cards needed to build out something like this. Here's another example from Arthur PC, who placed very highly in an online tournament, and this list is very similar to the one we just looked at, but the biggest difference here is the inclusion of Iron Hands EX, which is the latest tech in the Miraidon build from Paradox Rift and will likely be a staple card in Miraidon going forward. Let's close this out. I think that the Miraidon League Battle deck is a great foundation for a top-tier Miraidon deck and for a Lightning deck going forward. The inclusion of Miraidon's Electric Generator, Arvin, and a bunch of other cards are a really strong base from which to upgrade this deck to something that is competitively viable right now. And I would imagine that Miraidon is probably going to be competitively viable post-rotation. Like, we still remains to be seen what other cards come out, and it is losing some key pieces, but Miraidon's tandem unit ability is just so good, and Electric Generator is so good that I can imagine Miraidon at this League Battle deck is going to be the foundation of many great Lightning decks going forward. However, if we are judging this based on the 60 cards that you get here, it is not necessarily the most complete build. You're going to find that you will run into games where you don't start very well, you don't get enough energy on the board, you get just enough energy for one attacker, and then all of a sudden Miraidon or whatever attacker gets knocked out and you've run out of gas because your electric generators just didn't hit. And this deck in its current build really wants to set up really fast and really hard, and it does not have the stamina to go multiple turns into a deep game. You just want to end quickly and end this game before they really get set up, which is, it's a strategy, but it's not necessarily the most viable strategy. And with the way this deck is built in particular, it is very much relying on just out-tempoing your opponent from the get-go. In terms of comparing this to other League battle decks, I think that it is maybe not as complete as something like a Mew or a Palkia, and not as playable out of the box. However, Mew VMAX is going to be rotating in the coming months as part of the 2024 rotation. So if you want to play standard Mew VMAX, it may not be the best choice for you right now if you're looking to have something that is going to be legal for tournament play for the foreseeable future. However, Mew is still a phenomenal deck, and if you're going to put a ton of time into it right now and upgrade it right now, you could still do very well in the competitive scene in the next few months with a Mew VMAX League battle deck. And as for Palkia, Palkia is a more complete deck than Miraidon out of the box. However, Palkia's competitive ceiling is definitely lower than Miraidon. Palkia's ceiling right now is like rogue tier at best, and a fully built out Miraidon deck is certainly one of the best decks in the game. So would I recommend picking this up? I'd say yes, if you're willing to put in the work to grab the other cards in there, your Flaffys, Raikos, Raichus, and make the deck a little more competitively viable. In the current meta, it remains to be seen how competitive this deck will be going forward. I have a hunch that it's probably still going to be good as new cards are added in to make Miraidon continue for it to be strong in the future. So I'd say, yeah, tentative thumbs up, but definitely grab some other cards here to make this even better. What are your thoughts on the Miraidon League battle deck? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Are you disappointed in the particular card choices they've made? Are you excited to pick this up regardless and upgrade it the way you want? Let me know in the comments below. But for now, I gotta get going. Thank you so much for watching. Some quick plugs before we get out of here. You can find me on all the things: YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram at @InThirdPerson. You can find me on Twitch at @InThirdPerson, where I stream the Pokemon trading card game every Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And check out the website, inthirdperson.com, for more articles and videos on video games, board games, and other nerdy pursuits. So until the next one, I'll see you later. Bye-bye.